Khatchaturian and Jason Takhtadjian here over the ASN Podcast Olympic Edition. We'll be here every Monday recapping the week that was in the Olympic Games. Weekend one is in the books. Jason, we're recording this on at the end of day 3 of the Olympics, and already plenty of Armenians all over the world in action. But let's start with Armenians representing Armenia. First of all, Jason, how are you? How have you been enjoying the Olympics?
I've been doing good. I'm glad to have the Olympics back without a pandemic obviously affecting it. It's glad to see the Summer Olympics back in action and having just a multitude of sports to choose from.
So many options, and obviously Armenians are represented very well. 15 athletes. Thank you everybody who listened to our preview, by the way, and it was great viewership. It was our most listened to podcast. So the ASN Podcast is growing and hopefully continues to go throughout the Olympics. And before we begin, Jason, I'd like to thank our sponsors throughout this Armenia at the Olympics coverage. And our 3 sponsors are Nelson Gevorkian Law, your favorite attorney, also Cholokian Chiropractic, and the Armenian Heritage Softball Club. So thank you for our sponsors. We really appreciate you and the support that you've given ASN throughout the Olympics. So now let's jump in now. Let's start with boxing. Day 3 of boxing on Monday night in Paris. Davit Chaloyan pulled off a major upset against Delicious Orie of Great Britain in the round of 16 of the super heavyweight division in men's boxing. He advanced to the quarterfinals, which means now he's 1 win away from being in a medal match. Chaloyan is. Chaloyan obviously made headlines for being the flag bearer on Friday, and even more bigger headlines on Monday with the upset victory. Jason, what did you make of that match?
I mean, it was an upset and it was a comeback victory. I was watching the British commentary team, and the British commentators were convinced that Delicious did enough to get the split decision in his favor. But nope, at the end of the day, Chaloyan got that decision in his favor. All 5 judges had it in Delicious's favor in the first round. But after that, Chaloyan kicked it up to another notch, pretty much, winning the second round 3-2. The third and final round, he had it 4-1 in favor of himself. 4 or 5 judges having him as the favorite there. And he gets the upset victory and avenges his loss to Delicious, because they both boxed each other in the 2023 European Championships quarterfinal. Delicious went on to win that tournament, but Chaloyan gets his get back, and we're getting to see him go on to the quarterfinals. And like you said, he has a chance with 1 more win to go and get at least a medal.
Yes, Chaloyan will fight against Ayub Gatfa on August 2nd. Ayub is representing Spain, and he's also unseeded. So he also had a pretty good upset by unanimous decision against number 7 ranked Kamshibek Kunkabayev of Kazakhstan. And so a lot of upsets in that first round of boxing. There were 7 out of the 8 fights were upsets, including number 1 ranked Joshua Edwards of the United States. He lost by a score of 3-1, another split decision loss for one of the top ranked boxers there. So that's probably one of the bigger headlines so far for Armenia. Another huge headline was their performance in gymnastics. The qualification round took place on Saturday, day 1 of the Olympics, and pretty good scores from Artur and Vahagn and Davtyan in their respective apparatus. Artur Davtyan is competing in the vault. He finished 7th, good enough to qualify. That top 8 qualified, and he finished 7th with a score of 14.666. In his 2 vault attempts, his first attempt was a 14.533. His second attempt was even better at 14.8. So that was good enough for him to qualify. From the 18 competitors in the vault, Davtyan snuck in, and his brother did pretty well as well. Vahagn and Davtyan, he also finished 7th in the rings. So again, top 8 qualified for the rings, and both brothers will be competing for a medal for Armenia on August 4th, Sunday. So both the Davtyan brothers will be in action at the Bercy Arena in Paris.
Yep, Vahagn is the oldest gymnastics competitor as well. So it'd be really cool to actually see him go and win a medal. I know in our predictions we had Artur Davtyan a little bit higher in our ranking as far as who's going to medal. But it's really cool to see both now pretty much qualifying, getting through to the final 8 in their in their respective classes and going out and seeing if they can get a medal. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a razor thin margin in the world of gymnastics. To put it into context, for example, for the vault, Artur Davtyan, we mentioned his score was 14.666. The first place of the qualifying was Ukrainian Nazar Chepurny. He was 14.833, so less than 0.2 points differential. Less than 0.2 points differential. It's razor thin margins. So I know both Davityans finished 7th, but if they bring on their A game in the final, they can be bringing home a medal for Armenia in gymnastics, which will be absolutely remarkable. And so in sports shooting, Armenians had a competitor as well, Elmira Karapetyan. She competed Saturday on day 1. Heartbreaking result for her in the shooting events. She competed in the qualification. Again, top 8 qualified to the final, which actually took place on Monday. And Karapetyan finished 9th. So she was just on the outside looking in. A score of 576 for her. She needed at least 577 to qualify for the final, and she was not able to. I beg your pardon. The final for that was on Sunday. Yijin Oh of South Korea was able to bring home the gold. Very tough for Karapetyan there, Jason.
Yeah, definitely tough because the 3 finalists or the 3 lower seeded finalists did finish with the score of 577. So 3 different opponents finishing just 1 point above Elmira. She was winning gold medals in her World Cup tune-up qualification and tournaments that were being put on all around the world, in Brazil, in Thailand. But it's unfortunate. It just shows again the theme of razor thin margins being applied here in the Olympics.
Yeah. So basically in that qualification round, each competitor had 6 shots at the target, and the highest score you can get is 100, and then it goes by 1 point increment down in that qualification round. Elmira, 2 rounds she scored 98, and another round she put a 97 up, but that first round she had a 94. That set her up behind bad, and then the third round she had a 93, which was one of the, you would imagine getting a 93, like that's pretty close to the center, but 93 was one of the worst scores of the entire tournament. Like, anything below 95 is pretty subpar, and that round pretty much sealed the deal for Elmira. That's how razor thin that sport is. Let's move to the world of swimming. Armenia had 1 swimmer qualify for the Olympics, Varsnik Monasharyan. She qualified based on universality. She competed in the 100-meter butterfly. Did not advance to the semifinals. She finished 26th out of 32 competitors with a time of 1 minute and 1 second. So you needed to be in the top 16 to qualify for the semis, and then the finals, which took place on Sunday. Tori Husky of the United States. I don't know if you watched that race. Exciting finish. She came back in the last 25 meters and defeated Gretchen Walsh, fellow American. U.S. went 1 and 2 in that, but. Varsinik Malasharian, 26th. Again, universality. We weren't really expecting her to medal.
No, but it's again her second Olympics appearance, so it's nice to see Armenia with that representation. We'll see if going forward she continues to be the representation for Armenia, or if somebody else steps up to the plate.
Yeah, for sure. And there's one other Armenian swimmer, Artur Barsegian. He will compete in the 100-meter free. Now, there's been other Armenians. Those are the Armenians representing Armenia. There's been 5 athletes so far. Obviously, the Davityan brothers are still alive, and so is Davit Chaloyan. So still 13 Armenians in representing Armenia that will compete throughout these Olympics, and we'll keep track of all of them. Now let's do a rapid fire about some Armenians around the world. Hadley Husisian, representing the United States in fencing. She won her first Olympic match in the women's epi and advanced to the following round, where she lost. She's a young woman. She was very proud of herself for winning in her Olympic debut. We'll definitely see more of her to come. In the world of table tennis, there was Mariana Sahakian. She also won her preliminary table tennis match, moved on to the round of 64, where she lost. This was her second Olympics. Mariana's father was also a table tennis player, Armenian table tennis player, and Mariana represents Lebanon. And Jason, you want to talk about some of the coaches that have been coaching some of these clubs in the Olympics as well?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the first one, Brian Goorjian of the Australian men's basketball team, the Boomers, they got their Olympic campaign off to a flying start because they got a 92-80 win over Spain. And that's pretty notable because these basketball competitions in Olympics, they're no joke. It's comprised of 12 teams. Once they go through, you're basically in knockout stages and you're going for medal matches immediately. And Brian Goorjian in Spain, they are going to be, one to definitely keep an eye on. But it's important to note that the journey is
I
still
mean,
it's
Brian
early on,
Gurgin in
early stages
Australia.
there.
Brian Gurgin in Australia.
Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, it's still early stages for Brian Goorjian in Australia.
Yeah, that team's stacked. I wasn't surprised how much NBA talent they had. They looked pretty good in that first match. Obviously, they won the bronze medal last Olympics. They're going to be a threat for Team USA in the basketball tournament this time around. And also, Adam Krikorian, USA women's water polo head coach, they won their first match before losing today in group stage against another top team, Spain. But again, it's just group stage. USA still has high hopes. Adam Krikorian and women's water polo seeking their fourth consecutive gold medal, which is remarkable. Jason, a lot of, like we mentioned, 13 Armenian athletes representing Armenia are still in action throughout these Olympics. Honestly, this week is pretty light if you really think about it. Artur and Vahagn will compete this coming weekend on August 4. And of course, you have the Chaloyan quarterfinals on Friday. Artur Barsegyan hits the pool on Tuesday. But other than that, that's all you have with the Armenian athletes representing Armenia. Next week is when we kick it into high gear when wrestling and weightlifting kick off, and we'll preview that to a bigger extent next Monday's show. But until then, you got the Australian led Brian Goorjian and Brian Goorjian. Until then, you have Brian Goorjian led Australia and USA led Adam Krikorian competing in their respective sports. And Hadley Hussisian will be back in the women's team epi. So that's a chance for her to win a medal. That'll be exciting to see.
Definitely. We have the Olympic action heating up. The first weekend so far so good, but like you said, there's a lot more action and a lot more competitions coming up for Armenia, especially since weightlifting and wrestling. We got 8 of Armenia's 15 competitors in those two sports alone.
Yes, and I know everyone saw me wearing this Pepsi shirt. Pepsi does not sponsor the ASN podcast, but Nelson Gevorkian does. Chalakian Chiropractic does, and so does the Armenian Heritage Softball Club. We thank them again for that, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much, everybody.